Levi, what are we doing up here?
I don't know, Sam. You decided to drag us within a kilometre of Australia's highest peak to get footage of a nice stone-built cottage right over there. But it's closed for renovations because it's the off-season.
No, I mean, I know all that, but like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing any of this?
I know, like, what's our purpose? What are we seeking?
I got this strange sense of deja vu, almost like that question's been asked before. Well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah, we really should have inquired about the hut before heading up there.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a whole another year of this magazine to write. I'm drawing a blank. That was meant to be our big moment of inspiration. I can't think of anything from here.
No, I mean, we started this all off with that Socrates quote about, the unexamined life not being worth living, and yet we've got nothing left to examine.
I mean, what's next? Hey, let's go ask the old tar.
Not him, he's so useless.
No, seriously, I've got a hunch. This time, he'll have something insightful to say.
I'll take your word for it.
All right.
In asking itself, ye have chosen wisely.
All right, I'm sorry. The old tar was a waste of time.
Yeah, I know, and now we're sort of stuck. I mean, what are we going to do?
I don't know, do you have anything written from back in the archives? Anything on the back burner?
Nothing really comes to mind. But I've been sitting on something.
Oh, what is it? What do you got? Is it something you've...
No, I'm literally sitting on something.
What? Where do you get that? All right, come on, Levi, let's get a move on. I want to get up this mountain, check out this hut, find some inspiration. Let's get some direction.
Yeah, Sam, I'm just going to grab something in case I start questioning my own meaning and purpose,
Right. Well, I mean, I guess this'll do. There's material here.
It's all we have to work with, really.
But do people these days even know what the story of the Holy Grail is about?
No, I mean, most people are just going to know it from, like, the Lost Crusade.
What has Duke Edward got to do with this?
No, like Indiana Jones and the Lost Crusade, the movie.
Sorry, who's Indiana Jones?
Come on, man, even the old tar knows that.
Ye have chosen wisely.
I mean, what does it even matter? Fundamentally, what is the Grail quest about?
Well, it's about this young man called Percival, who's raised by his mother and her servants in this little cottage on this forest at the edge of the world.
Wales.
And he's taught nothing really of the church or of the society in the broader world around him. He just spends all day practicing with a javelin and with a stick and a sword. One day he's wandering in the woods with his javelins when he comes across a noise which terrifies him, and he thinks at first it's the demons that his mother's told him about. And instead of following her advice and running away, he decides to stand his ground and strike at them with his javelin when they come into sight. But when they do come into sight, it turns out to be a retinue of knights and ladies, and Percival immediately changes his mind and decides, well, this must be God and his angels that mother has also taught me about.
I mean, it makes sense, like backwater sort of country boy sees knight in shining armor for the first time.
I mean, the fairest thing he's ever seen is probably the neighbour's sheep. But when the knight rides up to Percival, he asks him a series of questions. He wants to know if Percival's seen another party of knights and ladies riding past. Percival has no interest in answering him. He just keeps asking the knight, what's that? What's this? What's that? Pointing at every different piece of the knight's gear, the shield, the armor, the lance, and asking the knight what he uses them for, what their purpose is.
Yeah, okay. So, but, how does Percival eventually come to leave his village? What's going on?
After meeting these knights, Percival obsessed with becoming one himself, and his mother is completely distraught. Turns out his father and brothers have died while knights, and his mother's kept him hidden for the very purpose of not letting him fall into the same fate. But Percival won't be swayed, and he mounts a horse, grabs his javelin, and sets out. And as he does, he turns around and sees his mother fainting on the bridge behind him, but, ignoring this, rides on to pursue his destiny.
What a muppet. Like, honestly, what was he thinking?
I mean, the text is always vague about what Percival is thinking at a given time. Sometimes it's not entirely clear why he makes the decisions he does.
I mean, if only we could go back and ask him.
I know. There was only some way.
Thank you, Sam. We're out here today in sunny Wales to see if we can catch up with Sir Percival. There's been reports that he's around, so we might be able to get lucky and... Oh, look, there he is!
Whoa! I found it! There it is! There's the sea! That's grand, that is! Hey, mate!
Sir Percival, do you mind if we ask you a few questions?
Not at all, lad, not at all!
Perfect. Now, what were you thinking when the Fisher King's kingdom was left in ruin after the desolation?
What's that?
It's a microphone. It records your voice.
What do you mean, records? I can hear my voice fine.
No, but it's for the folks at home.
What for? I don't see... Who's that?
That's my cameraman.
But what is he doing?
He's recording us with his camera.
I don't understand at all. He's just got a black box in front of him and it's just...
Now, Sir Percival, if we can get back to the questions, what was going through your mind after you slayed the Red Knight?
Red Knight. I'm too confused about all of this. I don't know what's going on. You got a snake on you, mate. Why you got a snake on you? That's just weird.
Well, there doesn't seem to be any help here, so back to you in the studio, Sam.
No, I don't think that would be too helpful, actually.
Well, anyway, even if the actions and the thoughts the book displays Percival as having don't always seem to mesh that well, the book's very clear on what the consequences are of Percival's actions.
Okay, so, what happens next?
Well, Percival's going to go out and do all these great feats of martial prowess, knightly valor, but there's always going to be a tinge of negativity to what he does because of his upbringing.
How so? How so?
Well, he's going to go out and immediately come across a young lady. And he's going to think back to his mother's advice that when he meets any young woman, he should never ask for more than a kiss. Now, Percival doesn't take this the way his mother intended it and forces a kiss upon the girl and takes the ring her betrothed gave her.
Ooh.
It's a strange breach of his mother's advice, but in a way that Percival sees as being in line with it. So even though he's got this great ability in terms of his physical prowess, socially and spiritually, he's pretty much an infant, if not a complete idiot.
Yeah, okay. So does King Arthur come at all in the story?
He does. After this tragic incident with a young woman, Percival finds the court of Arthur, which is thrown into mourning because the favourite chalice of Queen Guinevere has been stolen by a mysterious red knight. Now, Percival wants to be a knight more than anything else, so he offers, he says, "Your Majesty, if you make me a knight, I'll go and vanquish this foe." Now, the king obliges. Percival goes out, and after finding the red knight particularly rude, throws a javelin through his eye, killing him instantly. So again, this amazing display of ability, of warlike prowess, but he's completely unable to put the armor on.
Okay, yeah.
He wants to strip the red knight of his armor so he can wear it and become a knight himself, but he can't even take it off. So along the way, Percival needs to be helped by others to gradually grow more and more able, not just as a knight in terms of his ability to fight, but his ability to integrate into society and into a divine world as well, which of course permeates the medieval imagination.
Of course, of course.
So he eventually finds a mentor. Percival's mentor offers to train the boy in the use of the lance and the shield.
The quintessential knightly weapons, of course.
Yes, and also, more importantly, to teach him manners and society.
Oh, okay, that should help alleviate some of Percival's rougher edges.
Yes, And one of the first things that he gets him to stop doing is one of the things that's been so annoying both for the reader and the other characters in the story so far.
What, Percival's inability to answer a question, instead responding with his own?
Yes, the continual asking of questions.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Now his mentor also tells him, as a flow on from this, to stop telling everyone that my mother told me to do this, my mother told me to do that. His mother had originally been the one to tell him to ask questions to help him find his place in the world around him. The mentor says, from now on, keep silent so you'll look wise, and if you have to tell anyone where you learned something, say you learn it from me, your mentor. It'll save you some embarrassment.
Yeah, sure.
So Percival goes on and he has some more adventures. He tries to be silent and it causes, ironically, some embarrassments, but he generally is making a better impression in the world around him.
Okay, now, this is all very interesting, but I'm not hearing much about the Holy Grail. When does that come up?
Well, after his mentor has given him some instruction, but realistically not very much, Percival decides he's ready to go back out into the world, and his first on his agenda is to go back and find out what happened to his mother, whom, as we remember, he left fainted on the drawbridge of the little hut in the woods, and Percival now is worried for her.
It's a bit late, but at least he's remembered.
Yes, and so he rides out to find her, and during his travels, he'll come across a fisherman in a river, and in need of lodging, Percival will ask him if there's a castle nearby, to which this fisherman says, yes, there is, and directs him towards one up the hill. Now when Percival gets there, he's escorted to meet the lord of the castle, a man named the Fisher King, who's wounded in his leg. During the dinner with the Fisher King that evening, in this magnificent hall, a strange procession enters the room that catches Percival's attention. Among the servants is a young boy and a young girl, the one carrying a grail and the other carrying a lance that bleeds from its tip.
That's rather odd. You'd imagine Percival's going to be asking some questions now.
Well, he wants to, very much. This is unlike anything he's seen before. It's not a matter of the knightly armor. It's not a matter of social custom. It's something completely different.
Yeah,
And
it's
he
almost
wants-
like sorry, I was going to jump in. It's like it's
Yeah.
almost like a religious ceremony, almost.
Yeah, in fact, it's the one part of Percival's character that he hasn't really defined or developed yet. And yet, knowing what his mentor said, he decides to bite his tongue and ask in the morning privately to a servant when it's less embarrassing.
Yeah, okay.
However, the next morning, when Percival awakes, the castle is empty. And when he steps outside, the land has been turned to waste everywhere.
Okay, and what's caused this sudden transformation?
Well, Percival goes out and finds out, and he's told it's because of his failure to ask the night before about the meaning of the Grail and the lance that bleeds, that the entire land has now turned to ruin.
Because he fails to ask one question.
Maybe that's why the story of the Grail quest isn't as well remembered today. Even though the object, the idea of the Grail still is, the story is just too weird. It's easy to tell a story about a knight who has to choose between saving his lover and defeating the enemy, or choose between breaking a vow and keeping his oath, than it is about a knight who makes everything go to hell just because he didn't ask a question at dinner.
Yeah, it's odd, but hey, like, there's that. We started with this quote from Socrates about the unexamined life being not worth living, the examined life being what matters. You know, I think there might be a connection here.
Hey, what was it the old tar said?
Asking alone means you have chosen wisely.
Oh, so he did say something useful.
We just didn't know it at the time. Maybe, just like Percival didn't know at the time, the meaning of the Grail.
Yeah, it's all about asking the right questions, making the right inquiries.
It means you've chosen wisely.
There you go.
That's the idea behind Socrates himself. I mean, Socrates annoyed people like Percival by asking questions all the time.
Exactly, that's all he did. Gadfly of Athens.
So, the examined life is about knowing when you need to seek wisdom, knowing when you need to ask the questions. Because, I mean, in Percival's case, he'd been taught knightly arms, he'd even been taught about manners, but about these sacred and mysterious things, he hadn't yet received any education.
And so that's what he should be questioning.
He should be asking about that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we have our main thematic work, but we always cover 3 in the magazine, so what else are we going to look at?
Oh, Levi, before we went to the altar, we asked him a question, but we didn't really inquire. We just left it at that.
Oh no, let's go back, let's go now.
Hey, maybe the altar can tell me what this guy Indiana Jones has to do with all this. Still don't get the relevance. Gawain, yeah, Gawain